Hi, I'm Meryl Key, and this is my mystery school. Here's the What is Happening and Why astrology for June 2024. What's in store? Well, we're still in the flush of Jupiter's move into Gemini on May the 26th, currently supported by Pluto and Sedna, making this a time of regeneration, a burst of new thinking, new ideas, conversations, connections, technology. You'll be caught up in a sense of urgency to break out of what's held you back. The planets in June also present smart solutions, ingenuity, potential for playtime, and Venus rocking some scene-stealing cameos that stir up issues with love, romance and money. There's a new moon in Gemini, a full moon in Capricorn, a call to the future, and all the while, a visceral sense that what was familiar, even taken for granted, is dissolving away. What are you dreaming into existence? We'll start with an overview of the planet transits and then get into the juicy detail of the main aspects and the moon phases. At the end, we'll wrap it all up so you get the dot points. And if you want a June horoscope for your sign, watch my Astrology Dice videos put out at the start of each month. And remember, you can like, follow, subscribe or comment to support my channel. Here's a planetary overview for June 2024. Let's start off with a look at what's bubbling under the surface. Pluto is the only planet retrograde until the end of the month, and it ripples with a subtle undertow that brings the unconscious closer to the surface. This retrograde journey is significant because it's the last time Pluto will slip back into Capricorn for 248 years. Let's just say unfinished business will be trolled in this second half of the year, especially where it concerns top-down structure, status, position, power and authority. The outer planets have a generational effect, influencing the mood and events of the collective. Both Pluto and Neptune are inching towards the cuspy place of transition between signs. Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, right on the cusp here into Capricorn, and Neptune here at the end of Pisces, on the cusp leading into Aries. And this cuspy thing supercharges the sneaky feeling that we're in the middle of the in-between bit. Everything is in a process of change, and you might feel beset with both opportunities and false starts, endings and wobbly beginnings, maybe some regrets, maybe some closed doors. The future is calling, and your response will probably be a tussle between hope and fear. We'll talk more about Neptune's move from Pisces later in the video. But Pluto, from this crossroad position, is getting a blast of confidence from Jupiter for the first 3 weeks of the month. Sedna, the goddess of the oceans, is here with them, and her role to open up the path of spiritual destiny is amplified. Right up until the full moon in Capricorn, this combo can help you face some fears, bring in new resources, and prepare the ground in unfamiliar territory. For some of you, it will mean going on a journey, literally or figuratively. For others, it will mean adapting to a new way of being. There's a power here to resurrect and transform after loss. Keep that in mind if you feel weighed down or trapped. Having these outer planets set up the scene, the Gemini influence can't be ignored. On June 4th and 5th, Mercury, the messenger of the gods and ruler of Gemini, flies through this Pluto, Sedna and Jupiter radio frequency, and it activates the big questions. Mercury will cross into 3 signs this month, bringing communication on all levels. The mood is curious, inquiring, testing, juggling and adjusting. So your mind could be really restless, especially in the lead up to the new moon, which happens on June the 6th in Gemini, 16 degrees. And by now, there's other planetary forces in place. Here's the Sun and Moon in Gemini, and Venus sharing the spotlight right with them. She turns your head to relationships, preferences, money matters and pleasure. This kind of buzz is fickle, lively and social, with lots of invites and shiny things. There's a chance to start fresh and open your mind. And if you're looking for it, attraction, sliding door moments and synchronicities. But over in Pisces, Saturn puts in an element of gravity into all the hype. There's something here about learning from the past and resetting boundaries. What would you do differently? You might feel inhibited or dismissive about opening up to new people and situations. Timing can be off. Responsibilities can interfere. But there's a lot of buzz pushing you forward too. Saturn square Venus can be a bit of a downer, but it's also a place to grow. How can you trust your instincts better? On the sidelines, Chiron, Eris and Mars are within a few degrees of each other in Aries. They've been working on cultural change, protest and pushing back where there's been marginalisation or injustice. On a global scale, this shows up in the tent cities in university campuses. In Australia, there's been a nationwide groundswell protesting violence against women. There's recognition that our justice system has failed victims of violence, and there's been extra funding and laws tightened up very quickly as a result. The new moon in Gemini will likely see more of this debate and support for women, and hopefully Saturn coming through to sort out where protections need an upgrade. For example, changing laws or addressing misogyny online, in revenge porn, deep fakes, or on social media. And that's because there's a really cool moment going on between Uranus, Vesta and Pallas over this new moon phase, and it's active until the 12th. Pallas is a very wise and discerning goddess. She rules over things like justice, intelligence and strategy. She's very concerned with codes of conduct, so stuff like war crimes, police brutality and corruption are her thing. She shows up to expose, investigate and legislate for moral integrity and decency to be upheld. Here she is opposite Uranus, the revolution maker, who strikes with lightning detachment. This in itself could indicate a sudden crack in the moral compass, or a breakdown of humanitarian responsibility. But we have Vesta in a key role, making this interaction more about restoring and rectifying what went wrong, bearing witness and holding the truth to account. The outcome of this aspect with the new moon could be as smart as it is brilliant, innovative and immediate. Vesta is an asteroid goddess who holds the sacred flame of spirit alive. She represents where you're in service to others and where your own light and spirit can never die. She guides you back home, to the heart. On the flip side, if Vesta is in planetary trouble, she can show where the divine feminine is disregarded, including things like sex trafficking, slavery and coercive control, becoming a victim. However, in this position, I feel any revelations or hypocrisy that pops up in June won't be able to slip away unnoticed. And there's a solid lineup to address the matter fair and square, with Eris, Mars and Chiron in Aries, and Saturn square the new moon, Venus and Mercury. The mood of cultural change is edging towards enough is enough. On a personal level, if you feel a restless dissent or rebellion coming on, use your intelligence, your skill and your strategy rather than brute force to express yourself. You might need to take a stand on something you feel really strongly about, but it's important to rise above a victim-persecutor vibration and see yourself as deserving and accountable. Venus is popping up everywhere, and she could bring an inspired and reasonable offer to the table. This Venus square Saturn transit peaks over June 8 and 9, and at the same time, Mars moves into Taurus, who is ruled by Venus. Mars in Taurus can be sensual and pleasure-seeking, enjoying the finer things. So don't be surprised if that rubs off on the mood for the month. But sometimes Mars in Taurus can't find the stop button. In a positive, this means perseverance and endurance. But out of balance, this can become relentless or dominating and stubborn. With Venus squaring Saturn at the same time, a boundary could be breached in that second week. Maybe you're overdoing it, being excessive, indulgent, or like a bull at a gate. Maybe you got careless or distracted. If you've gone too far in spending, eating, or partying, use Mars in Taurus to focus into practical solutions. Get back into a routine. Mars in Taurus can harness your strength and willpower. It can discipline wild extremes and get the job done, if you choose to rein it in. From around mid-month, Venus and Mars engage in a frisky astrological tango that will roll on into the first week of July. These are the gods of desire and passion, war and peace. They are one of the most famously on-off, hot-cold, love-you-hate-you couples in our galaxy. And in this current affair, the same could be happening to you and your likes and unlikes, your faves and unfaves, your crush, your ick, and your nemesis. What do you really want? Over the course of this current hookup, expect a dose of reality to set in, as Venus moves from squaring Saturn on the 8th and the 9th to squaring Neptune the 16th to the 19th, where there could be a bit of disappointment or a feeling you've missed a chance. Check in with your instincts again. Be honest. On the 21st, the Sun moves into Cancer. Solstice, the turning point between light and dark, night and day. The northern hemisphere is at its peak light. The sun is at full strength, energy's up, and the days are at their longest. But from here on, the daylight hours will slowly drop back as the season turns inward once again. In the south, we're in midwinter, where the time of the greatest darkness opens again towards the rebirth of the sun. Also at a turning point, the moon is reaching fullness, peaking at 1 degree Capricorn on the 22nd. But we need to talk about Neptune. It spent 13 years under the sea in Pisces, and now at 29 degrees, is hovering right on the threshold of a brand new adventure. This here is the Pisces-Aries cusp, and it's a doozy. Pisces is at the very end of a cycle, and it dissolves things into spirit. 0 degrees Aries is the first breath of new life. This is the part of the zodiac that symbolises the magical transition phase between an in-breath and the out-breath. The pause between letting go and letting in, death and rebirth. Now, Neptune doesn't fully cross over this line into Aries until March next year. But on the edge here of this really delicate liminal location, you might feel that you're treading water, floating, or going under. And that's because there's a lot shifting about in the subconscious realms. At the same time, your interest in spirituality, volunteering, or therapy might kick in. You might get a yen to trace back your ancestors or start meditation. Allow your intuition to guide you. And that brings us to the Capricorn full moon, the first of 2 Cappy moons this year. This means it's a culmination that might need a second shot to fully complete its cycle. And that echoes the unfinished business going on with both Pluto's retrograde and Neptune wavering at the crossroad between the in and the out breath. Because with this full moon, here's Neptune right at the midpoint, repeating the theme of being in transition, in the middle of the middle, caught between two realities. The full moon is highlighting where there's inner conflict. Perhaps your job isn't fulfilling, or you've held back on your potential. Perhaps you've reached an achievement and you're not sure what to aim for next. To make a leap, you have to sacrifice something, and that brings out this tussle between hope and fear. It's all part of the astrological plan. Venus in Cancer is right beside the Sun, and she's showing up to maintain your self-worth and your self-belief. Believe in yourself and stand by your values. And Neptune, although it's opening up the inner conflict box, is now trine Vesta, in harmony with her cause. Remember, she's the keeper of the sacred flame that burns with your life force. And trine Neptune, you're connecting in and supported by a bigger picture. All of this fuels a deep knowingness of where your destiny is calling. And the full moon setup will present a signpost of what really matters to you. Vesta and Neptune are tuning you towards your higher purpose and its service for the greater good. If you choose to shut this down, Pluto is sitting opposite Vesta, and it's also quincunx the Sun, making it very uncomfortable to turn away from what your heart and your spirit need for nourishment. Even if you don't know how to claim it yet, or even think that it's possible, just acknowledging where you light up will help you dream it into existence. So to wrap up, how can you trust your instincts? What do you really want? And where do you light up? Over June, there's a mercurial quicksilver speed and hunger for transformation and change. And at the same time, a kind of undertow of inner conflict, hope and fear, unfinished business, unrealized dreams. Nevertheless, there are some really good vibe times, and a surprise smart outcome could materialize where you least expect it. Especially if you back yourself, stick to practical solutions and trust your instinct. Switch out of a victim-persecutor dynamic by responding from self-worth instead of reacting from fear. Because Venus is everywhere, love, relationships, work and finances are getting some scrutiny. And by solstice and the full moon on the 22nd, there'll be a turning point. The signpost should be loud and clear, even if you can't act on them yet. Don't ignore your hunches, listen to your dreams, and let your intuition guide you. By the end of the month, you should have faced some fears and grown some well-founded hope in the right direction. I'm Meryl Key. Thanks for tuning in to the What is Happening and Why Astrology. Find me on Instagram at my_mystery school or on my website www.merylkey.com. See you next time.